All right, let's get going on lesson 1-4. So, in my classes, I split this up in 2 days. So I think with these, obviously, I'm not going to focus on whether it's day one or day two, but you'll be able to figure out what it applies to. So what we're going to talk about today is writing linear equations, and the big thing here is when you look at the word linear, right? You have to remember we are talking about an equation that makes a line, right? It's an equation that makes a line. Line is the first four letters of linear. So if you haven't connected that before, hopefully now you do. And what one thing you will notice is all variables, right, that we encounter in linear equations will have an exponent of either 1 or 0. And if they have an exponent of 0, it means they're not in it, right? So examples of that would be, y equals 3x minus 4, or y equals 2x, or y equals 3, where you don't have an x variable, or even x equals 4, right? Some of those, these are all linear equations, right? So they're things that we have to know how to recognize, and the one thing you do know is when you graph these that they will make a line. All right, so hopefully you'll see that and connect that. Okay, let's get started. So we're going to spend a lot of time working with this form called slope-intercept form, and this is something that you should have gone over pretty heavily in Algebra 1. We use it quite a bit more in Algebra 2, so it's kind of important that we have a pretty solid grasp of it, all right? And so the big thing is you've got an equation that gives you two pieces of information that make it super easy to graph, all right? And so one of them is they give you your slope, right? And there's your slope right there. The slope is represented by a number that's going to be in front of the x, and that number, for the algebraic representation of this, they use m, right? And so when we're writing, like, what's the slope, we'll say m equals, and then we'll have our number, right? And then the y-intercept is also super helpful, because if you have the y-intercept, you have a starting point, right? Literally, you have a starting point, and it's where the line crosses the axis. So it's right here, okay? And then it's, don't think of it as plus b, just think of it as b, right? They just put a plus because you need an operator there. So it's either plus something or minus something, what you'll see. So that will be also how we recognize that. And one of the things about y-intercepts that's really important to understand is if it is where it crosses the y-axis, your x-coordinate is always 0, right? Your x-coordinate for your y-intercept is always 0. So that's a good way that you can recognize it in coordinate form. If they don't say this is the y-intercept, but they give you the point 0,2, you know that, hey, this crosses the y-axis. This is where it crosses the y-axis, right? So because of that, then this is my my y-intercept, and it crosses the y-axis at the point 2. So that's sort of a breakdown of what slope-intercept form looks like. And so now let's try this problem here, and we're going to use kind of what we know and what we've learned so far, and a quick review of slope. If you guys remember slope, the formula for slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, right? So you have 2 points, you're just subtracting them, right? And then using that to simplify a fraction and then get a number for your slope. So for this one, they're giving us 2 points, and one of the points is actually where it crosses the y-axis. So right off the bat, we're getting our y-intercept. So we would say our y-intercept is -2, all right? Because it's the point 0, -2, right? And that's right here. So you use this number right here, or you can just look at the graph and see where it goes through. And now to find our slope, we're going to use our 2 points that they're giving me, right? So they're giving me the 0.44 and they're giving me the 0.0 negative 2. So if we think of this one right here, let's use the one on the left as x1, y1, and you think of this one as x2, y2, right? Then you just plug it into your formula. It's always your change in y over your change in x, right? That's another way of thinking of it. How much does y change versus how much does x change? You just have to make sure you're going the same direction with the coordinates. So if you're starting with this one for your y, you have to start with this one for your x. If you decide to start with this one instead for your y, then you have to start with this one for your x. So they have to line up. All right, so my y2 is 4. We're going to go minus, and then we have negative 2. So I'm going to put that in parentheses to kind of show that it's always minus the number, right? That's where a lot of people get goofed. And then 4 is my x, my x2, and 4 minus 0, all right? So this is going to give me 6 up here because it's 4 plus 2 over 4, which is 3/2 when we simplify it. So I now have my slope and my y-intercept. So in my y equals mx plus b equation, all I need to do is just substitute these in for m and b. So instead of writing m, I'm going to write 3/2. Instead of writing plus b, I'm going to write minus 2. All right, so this would be y equals 3/2 x minus 2, meaning this is an equation of the line that goes through negative 2. That slope goes up 3 because it's positive and over 2. Up 3 over 2. All right. So yeah, that's how these work, right? And hope this is helpful to you. So let's quick look at 2 more ways of writing these things. So in this one, they're giving us the slope, which is awesome. So we already know the slope. They say, hey, write an equation, slope-intercept form of the line with slope 4/3. Well, boom, write that down. And then it says it passes through the point 0.04. This is my y-intercept because my x-coordinate is 0. So that means my y-intercept is that y-coordinate. So it's b equals 4, my y-intercept. And then it's just plug it into y equals mx plus b, right? My m is 4/3 and x plus 4. You got to always remember your x's and your y's. You can't forget about that stuff because it'll bite you if you do. All right, now in this last example here, right, it wants us to write the equation of a line that passes through these points. So I know by now how to recognize my y-intercepts because x is 0. So this is my y-intercept, which means I have that point. I have that number, but I don't have my slope. So we will instead use our formula to find our slope. We don't even have a picture to like draw a triangle on if we wanted to, right? So this would be my x2, y2. And if you don't need to write these down all the time, then don't, right? I'm just doing that to demonstrate. So we got 10, and then you're going to put your minus sign, and then negative 6, right? So those go there. And then we have negative 4, minus, and then we have 0, right? And if I were going to be completely technical, I'd do this too, right? Just to show what we're substituting in. This point kind of turned on its side, and this point kind of turned on its side. So let's simplify this. We get 10 plus 6 because you have a double negative, so that's 16 over negative 4 because anything minus 0 is just that thing. 16 divided by 4 is 4, and a positive divided by negative is a negative. So now I have my slope. My slope is negative 4. And so I'm good to go with my y equals mx plus b because I know what m and b are now. So we're going to say y equals negative 4x minus 6. Okay? And that is your linear equation. So this is an equation of the line that goes through the y, or yeah, it goes through the y-axis at -6, and it goes for every 4 units. It goes down. It goes over 1 unit to the right. So that would be an explanation of it, and I hope this is being helpful to you. So we will see you in the next video.